The Volkswagen Bus, Microbus, Minibus, Hippie Van, Transporter, Type 2, whatever you want to call it, was the second model in Volkswagen's lineup after the original Volkswagen Beetle. And just like the Volkswagen Beetle, which became an international icon, likewise the Type 2 followed suit in a more utilitarian rectangular form. This is the second generation model of the Type 2 that was sold from 1967 to 1979, and this is a 1979 model. You could get the Type 2 in a number of various body configurations. They sold it as a cargo van or panel van. You could get it as a pickup in either a regular cab or crew cab form, and then of course this is the bus. They also offered it in a number of various camper forms. This is the Riviera package, which has a pop-up top. Now, although the second generation of the Type 2 is not quite as iconic as the first generation model, it's still a very cool looking vehicle. That first generation had the split windshield up front rather than a single large pane of glass. And then likewise on the side of the vehicle, rather than having fewer large windows here, it had a bunch of small windows. It also had the available skylights up above, and so on certain models you could get up to like 23 windows, which gave it a very unique look. Those have certainly gone down as more of a classic than the second generation, but the second generation is still very cool nonetheless. It also grows a little bit in size when compared with that first generation model. You'll see up front it's got a little bit of the Volkswagen Bug look to it. We've got the circular headlights with the chrome wraparound. And then for 1973 they made a few modifications. You'll see that the blinkers move up top. Previously they were down below, so you get a larger, more square fixture. And then the bumper is also modified. It's got a more squared off shape to it, and you'll see that we've got a crumple zone back behind to help with safety. Now, the Microbus was not required to pass passenger crash safety tests, but when they added that modification, it actually allowed the vehicle to pass those tests. Certainly by today's standards, it wouldn't stand a chance. You'll see that on this model, we've got the mount here for the spare tire. A lot of these Type 2s have a large Volkswagen emblem here, which looks pretty cool as well. But if you get the tire mounted up here, it's got a unique look as well. And then you'll see we've got an antenna over here on the passenger side. Side profile, again, not quite as cool as that first generation model with the simpler glass profile, but still a really cool look to it. Another thing that I really love about these Volkswagen vans is some of the cool color combinations that you get. This one's obviously been painted since the original paint job, but on these you get a lot of really cool multicolor configurations, and they really just have a very one-of-a-kind look to them. Obviously one of the things that really stands out looking at it is the door placement. Because we don't have a hood on this vehicle, it doesn't stick out in front, you're sitting directly above that wheel well, and so climbing in is pretty unique. You got the little step here up in front of that front wheel, and then you sit again directly above that. So results in a pretty unique feel when you're driving it. You'll see we've got a set of 15-inch wheels. Manually adjusted mirrors here. And then the front windows also have the little vent here on both sides. This middle window slides open, give you a little bit more air. And then because it's rear engined, we've got the vents here to bring air into that engine compartment to help cool it down. With that 1973 update, we also get a revised bumper back here. Obviously it's missing on this vehicle, and then we also get a more horizontal rectangular light fixture here on the back. So we've got the hatch right here to access the rear of the vehicle, and then down below that another hatch to access the engine. Fuel tank right here, and then on the passenger side here we've got the sliding door. Now, I did mention that this is the Riviera, so this top pops up and you've got a little bed up there in a camper top. I don't know if I can do this with the camera, but we'll give it a try. You see we've got these little latches here. You just pull off. We got 4 of them, these 2, and then 2 at the front, which I've already undone. And then I think I'm gonna use my head and one hand. I'll just push that up. There we go. Do that with the camera. And you'll see we've got a bed now. But we're gonna get to the interior in just a moment, so let's start out here and just give you a look at it with that top up. Pretty cool how it's got the hard shell that's integrated there to keep it nice and watertight. And you can see super easy to lift that up too. It's one of the great things about it is that it's incredibly usable. Definitely gives the vehicle a cool look and adds to the practicality. not bad. Definitely a cool vehicle. Looking inside the Volkswagen bus, you'll see it's got a really unique look and feel to it. Obviously, with the driver and front passenger sitting right over these wheel wells and the dashboard being at the very front of the vehicle, it's got a one-of-a-kind feel that you don't get in anything else. Steering wheel sitting almost vertical, and it gives a really weird feel when you're driving it as well, because rather than having the steering wheel out in front of you, it's almost like it's sitting on your lap. You'll see that the dashboard's got a nice clean look to it. Got a vent here, fuel gauge, a few warning lights, speedometer which goes up to 150 miles an hour for some reason, clock right here, defroster. You see this has an aftermarket audio system. Got our glove box over here on the passenger side, another vent, cigarette lighter, emergency brake, temperature gauge for the heater, hazard lights, gear shifter. We've got our pedals down below. Got a pretty unique feel to them. You can see right through the floorboard in several locations on the vehicle. So one of the funny things is when you push down on this clutch, you can see right down to the driveway. So I don't know if it's supposed to be like that or not, but it is that way. Over here we've got manually operated window, speakers, part of that audio system, so obviously that's aftermarket. We do get seatbelts. And another unique thing is we've got these vents over here built into the doors. So you see we've got the pathway for it coming through here. So it's actually bringing air to the back of the vehicle. So kind of a unique design. Visors up above, rearview mirror. And then we'll come around to the back, which has kind of a weird configuration to it. Obviously not stock anymore. It's got a weird, arrangement of seats. So you've got a seat, a little bench here, another pad back there, and we've got that platform up above the engine. So kind of a unique setup. And then the carpet all over the walls and the floor. And then, as I mentioned, we do have the camper, which is pretty sweet. So you've got the little mattress pad up here on this platform. And then these do zip open as well. So you'll see you've got the zipper here. So we open that up, and we've got the little bug screen. Get you some fresh air. Really love the fact that with this camper top, it's so easy to open and close, and it just adds this additional space and functionality to the van. Pretty cool setup. Some models of the first generation Type 2 had only 24 horsepower, but for the second generation model, you start out at a whopping 47 horsepower. And by the time we get to 1979, you can get up to 70 horsepower. The Type 2 is rear engine and rear wheel drive, and over the years it was available with a 1.6, 1.7, 1.8, or 2-liter 4-cylinder. Starting out in 1975, we get standard fuel injection, and 1978 we get an electronic ignition. The Type 2 is available with a 4-speed manual transmission or a 3-speed automatic starting in 1973. All right, we got her fired up, and now it is time for a drive. Oh, we got to turn off the parking brake first. So to do that, you just twist that, push it in, and we are on our way. Oh boy, I guess the steering radius isn't all that great. All right, we'll give that another try. See if we can make it up my steep driveway. First test of the day. Looks like we're gonna do it all right. Off and away. Now I've got to say, all around, this is a really unique vehicle to drive. I mean, the position for one, the fact that you're sitting up in the front left-hand corner of the vehicle over this wheel well. My arms are actually in front of the wheel well. No other car do you have that. So it's got a really unique feel in that sense. And sometimes going around corners actually gets a little sketchy. Feels like the thing is going to tip over. I think it's just an illusion, but still feels as such. All right, so we're gonna go down a nice steep, windy road. Really test it out. Hopefully the brakes are good, and hopefully the handling will do all right. Like I said, I think it's a complete illusion. It just feels like when you're going around corners that the whole vehicle is just like getting ready to go up on that one wheel. But I think it's just being in this position. It just gives you a very different feel than what you get in most other normal vehicles. You gotta love the sound that you get with these old Volkswagens too. It's not necessarily a pleasant sound, but it's a unique sound, and I like that. I also love how old cars have these massive steering wheels. My first car, it wasn't really mine, it was my parents', but the first car that I drove when I was in high school was a 1969 GMC pickup, and it was the same thing. For some reason, it just had this massive steering wheel. Just a thing of the past. But it's those little details on these old cars that make them so unique and make them so fun to drive. Of course, another classic trademark of these old vehicles is inside it just smells like exhaust and gasoline. Probably not super healthy, but same thing with that 69 GMC. It's like every day when I got to school, I smelled like gas. Couldn't walk in front of the tailpipe or your leg would be black. All right, do a quick acceleration test. See what she can do. There we go, we're up to 40 kilometers an hour, whatever that is. Definitely, it's definitely not super powerful, I'll tell you that. Pulling onto the highway or going over a mountain pass, you're probably going to be chugging along at a pretty slow little clip. But no one's going to hold it against you when they see what you're driving, because they're just going to know that's all you got. Speaking of highways, here we go. Test it out and see what you can do. Now, one thing you do feel a little bit bad about with the Microbus is that you're just like constantly pushing it to the limit. I mean, my foot is down to the floor practically the entire time that we're driving, which I wouldn't do that with any other vehicle. I feel like it wouldn't be very good for it. Certainly not good for fuel efficiency, but with this thing, you don't have a choice. You gotta give it all it's got all the time. I gotta say, it's a fun car to drive. I don't think there's any classic car I've ever driven that wasn't fun, because there's just something about the primitive nature of these old cars that is really unique and fun, and obviously the fact that there's nothing else out there like this, and that I've never driven anything like this, it makes it kind of fun. There's definitely a novelty in it, and I'm sure, you know, in time that it could get old, but it's pretty cool. So there you go, that's the second generation model of the Volkswagen Type 2, a pretty cool vehicle all around, iconic styling, very spacious inside, especially cool with that pop-up Riviera top. Obviously incredibly underpowered, but that's kind of all a part of the experience. I love how unique the driving experience is in this vehicle, and certainly a one-of-a-kind classic car. If you have any comments or questions on the Volkswagen Type 2, leave them in the section below. For more car reviews, be sure to subscribe. In the meantime, thanks for watching.